All right, welcome back to another Security Vodcast. I'm here with Tyler. Tyler, welcome.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, it is the end of 2023, so we just kind of looked around. What were the big things to talk about in cybersecurity, that InfoSec area this year?
Sure.
And we have a list of a few things to go over. I'm just going to kind of name them and let you talk for 30 seconds about each one of these, and hopefully we all learned something today.
Yeah, a year in review. Love it.
Year in review. All right, let's start with DDoS attacks.
So DDoS attacks. These are distributed denial of service attacks. To put that in layman's terms, it means that something on the internet is brought offline because it's overwhelmed with traffic. Okay?
Fair enough.
What does this mean to the typical person? Not much. Not many actionable items associated with this. You have to be prepared that it will happen because it's easier to do these days and therefore happening with much more frequency. So much of today's world is connected online, oftentimes in consolidated cloud spaces like Amazon Web Services or Azure. And so when these things have disruptions, they disrupt all kinds of services we use daily. So just be prepared to lose access occasionally and have a plan in place.
We've seen it happen before. It's going to continue happening.
Absolutely.
All right, easy enough. Remote workforce was another big one this year. I think this is going to get brought up probably again next year. What's the big thing in remote workforce and cybersecurity?
It's been a huge theme since the onset of COVID, and I think it's here to stay from here on out. And as it increases as the norm, there becomes a greater risk of complacency. And so, just we've heard over and over again how to effectively work remotely and keep security in mind, using the principle of least privilege and making sure you have secure connections. Just most importantly, maintain awareness, understand the increased risk of having that remote work enabled, and just try your best to protect yourself.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Moving on. This one, I learned a bunch today about this. Cyber insurance or cybersecurity insurance. What's going on there?
Cyber insurance, it's a tough market. Cyber insurance kind of put themselves, behind from the get-go. Really, when it was introduced as a popular type of insurance, they weren't prepared for the reality of the market.
The onslaught of all the attacks.
Absolutely. So you have this, relatively affordable insurance with very little hurdle to get it, and then all of a sudden just a series of ransomware attacks which became very popular and things that have a high dollar amount for the insurance companies, and now they're turning the tables. A lot of insurance providers are dropping it as an option altogether. It's certainly becoming more expensive for those who still offer it, and it's becoming much tougher to get. So definitely have to very carefully assess whether or not it's right for you. I would encourage, to make all attempts to have cyber insurance. Mm-hmm. But something important there is when you're filling out the application, do not misrepresent yourself. Do not lie on that application, because you might as well not have any insurance at all if you're going to pay those premiums and then not get your claim, answered because you have a lie on the application. They catch it in the review process and they're not able to pay you out.
Certainly.
Yep.
One, we talked about two things briefly earlier that I should mention. One, you said understand your policy and what's covered and what's not covered, because it might not cover computer replacement.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. We saw a real life example of that. I think it was last year where they had coverage for digital loss, but they had a ransomware event that prompted them to replace all of their hardware, and that wasn't covered in the policy. And there's just a misunderstanding there. They spent thousands of dollars, expected the insurance company to cover that, and it wasn't covered. So it's just something that you want to be educated on going into it.
Yep. And I think like anything, view your insurance company as your partner. They're going to give you advice about what you should have in place. Take that advice. Don't look at them as a hurdle. Look at them as somebody who's going to give you some great info about what you need to be doing.
Absolutely.
Which leads to the next point, security awareness and training.
Sure. This is, everyone's favorite topic. Everyone loves receiving those monthly emails with a 5-minute video.
Yeah.
But really, it's really important for a couple of reasons. One, it keeps you informed of the latest trends, so you know what to look out for. But then two, it just reminds you to keep that security mindset. Again, circle back to the complacency bit. It's nature of the beast. If you operate on your day-to-day, operations, then you're going to just slip into that routine and maybe not keep security front of mind. And by staying on top of that awareness training, it just helps remind you to stay safe.
Yep. Have policies and procedures in place to keep you aware. I'm aware when I walk in this building because I have to get in the building, which takes some effort.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So from the get-go, security is at the forefront of my mind. And yes, we watch stupid security videos as well.
Absolutely.
We watch more complicated ones, but we still have our monthly stuff. Like as a business, we have to do that. So yes, you know what? I was thinking, like you've watched Loki on Disney, and they have like all those infographics on the wall everywhere you walk through to remind you of things like, keep time in order. It kind of like almost that. Maybe have something on the wall even that to keep cybersecurity in the forefront of everybody's mind. It's really easy to get lazy with it.
Absolutely.
Cool. And then that also leads to mobile security.
Mobile security. So, we're operating more mobile every day. We have our laptops and our phones and our tablets. From an end user perspective, the most important thing to do is make sure you install your updates. It's really easy to just press that ignore button. Maybe you're scared of it breaking something, which it might. But give it a 24 hours, 48 hours if you need to. But do not let too much time pass before installing an update. Security is included in almost every software package these days, and so that's the most important thing about staying safe there. I'd also mention trying to maintain some separation between personal and professional data. I do mix work and my personal stuff on my phone, but I keep my work email in my Outlook app, knowing that should my phone be lost, my work account can be shut down remotely. Where if I were to sync that with my personal mail app, that might be harder to cut off from the bad actor who has access to my hardware at that time. Yep,
and there's actually probably a whole nother podcast just on this, or Vodcast, because we do get phone calls of the employee that doesn't have a smartphone or doesn't want to use their personal smartphone for work stuff, but it's required by work, and so now you're at a standstill and there's not really a policy. So getting ahead of that stuff and having policies in place for what you can and can't do, because the last thing you want to do is turn off MFA for a user because they don't want to use it on their phone.
Absolutely not.
That's like the worst thing that you can do. Yeah. So again, maybe we'll discuss that more in 2024. This was a new one for me. At least I didn't understand these words until I read about it. Posture management. I thought it was like make sure I sit properly, but it's not what it is. What is it?
So when it comes to your security posture, that's evaluating what controls you have in place and how effectively they're working, and that can apply to a professional or business standpoint, certainly, as well as personally. And from a business perspective, there are these things called cybersecurity frameworks, and that makes it very easy to create that checklist, making sure your controls are in place, and then evaluating how effective they are. From a personal perspective, maybe that checklist includes things like keeping your devices up to date, having antivirus installed on your computer, and then using a password manager for all of your digital accounts. Those are 3 easy things to make sure you maintain, and maybe you can go through that password manager every year, make sure everything's up to snuff, and check all those machines for updates on a regular basis. Automate it if possible.
You say automated workflows.
Absolutely.
You talked briefly about like identity monitoring as well, which is great.
Great point. And in fact, I got a little story about that. I have identity monitoring in place. I got an alert 2 weeks ago that my email was involved in some sort of data breach, and then correlated directly with that, I had about 7 days of increased spam on my account. So you get those identity alerts, you can know to be on the lookout for maybe an increased effort to access your personal data.
Gotcha. I like to find other real world analogies that we're all used to, and so you walk around your house every now and then and see what needs to be fixed or what needs to be worked on. You have a list, right? You take your car in for an oil change on a regular basis. You check the tires maybe before you get in it, have your brakes checked. You have to do the same thing with your digital world.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So all of these things that we've been doing for the other things, we need to do for this as well. It's not going away. All right, the last thing, and I think this is a big topic for next year, but we have a few things to mention. Generative AI. What's going on there?
So yeah, generative AI. It was a hot topic with ChatGPT this year, and seeing how that's grown and been utilized and abused. And it seems like something that just generative AI sounds like something that's in the future, but it's here and it's actively being used. And one of the real world examples that we're seeing today is that it's being used to create phishing campaigns that are harder to detect. There's no longer the grammatical errors in the emails that make it easy to catch. You're gonna have to be that much more diligent to find something when it's been drafted by AI to be very accurate and convincing. Something that it can do and that it's doing actively now is enabling people to code malware, doing it for them. This is something that's now being made accessible to anybody where it was a specialized skill set before. And to put that in the hands of more people just increases the risk that much more.
Man, oh man, it's going to be an interesting 2024.
Yes.
I don't know how to place any more emphasis or seriousness into this than we already have, but there's a reason we have a security department that Tyler runs, because this is a big deal, and every day people are getting hit, right? I see the emails come in. You guys are dealing with them every day. Most companies assume they're going to be compromised or users are going to be compromised at some point. So let's do what we can to get ahead of it and then have actionable things to do when that happens. Most importantly, if you're a client of ours, you call us or call your IT company and stay on top of this stuff. I think that's kind of it. Everything else, we're good for the year, I think.
Sounds good.
All
It's
right.
been a hell of a year.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, we'll do this again next year. We have some more topics in mind. I'll leave the comments turned on for this one. So if there's anything you want to see next year, please comment. And we'll go from there. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you, Jason.
See you next year.